All right, and we are live. Hello, and welcome to episode 50 of the Gaming Perspective podcast. Our podcast is officially old now. So you can find us all on Anchor FM. I've updated all of our most recent audio files. So if you want to find the most recent episodes of the podcast, you can find it on Spotify now for your listening pleasure. And we'll get right into intros today. Usually I do a recap of what we're going to cover, but today went from this is going to be a really short episode that we're going to have to kind of stretch out a bit to, wow, Jim Ryan just tap danced all over my topics list and made me rewrite it 3 times today. So it's going to be a good time. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so we'll get right into introductions. So introducing from Windows Central, the guidesman himself, Mr. Jared Eden.
Well, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Definitely lots of stuff that popped up today, so let's get talking.
Absolutely. And also joining me, the newsman himself, who is very much tired of the antics of releasing everything in 1-hour intervals today, from Windows Central, Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
Hey, yeah, it is good to be here with all of you fine gentlemen. I hope you're having a more relaxing day than I was. It's good. It's busyness for a good... It's busy work for a good cause. It's not like it's busy work for the sake of busy work. So I'm excited to dig my teeth into some of this stuff.
Absolutely. I also would like to note that last week, Sam was Samuel coming in June Tolbert, and this week he's coming to PC. So we now know the platforms and a release window for when Sam will be coming to your platform of choice.
Which is more than you can say for most games right now. So, you know.
Hey, know more about Sam's upcoming release than the Cyberpunk Next Generation patches. Eric, the man with the plan himself from Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, and the man with the cleanest setup that I have seen in a while now. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Still a work in progress. Still trying to put some things together. Not completely there yet, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of work, a lot of busy weekends. So, yeah. But happy to be here, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had to rework my setup because I went and bought a PS5 like an idiot, and I sat there and looked at my dual monitors. Yeah, I looked at my desk and was like, well, I guess I don't need dual monitors anymore because fuck space. So now I just have this like empty half of my desk where this PS5 is just like obelisking. I really can't complain. Shout out to the folks down at my EB Games because I walked in and as anyone's been following the Pokemon Shine stuff, they were getting swamped on day one, people calling them and being like, why don't you have Pokemon stuff? So they were like, please, if you're going to ask me about anything, please don't make it be about Pokemon. I'm like, hey, do you guys have PS5s? And they're like, actually, we do. They're like, they just came in off the truck 2 minutes ago and nobody's claimed any of the physical units. You want one? I'm like, hold on, let me call my wife before I dump $800 on PS. And luckily enough, my wife was gracious enough to let me pick them up. So I managed to pick up one of those nice GameStop bundle hustles, we're going to call them. Where they're like, hey, you get a controller and you have to pick a full price game and everything else. But all that aside,
I call them struggle bundles.
Struggle bundles.
I won't go long in the tooth talking about my PS5 stuff, but pretty awesome stuff. I'll probably do a small video on my experiences with PS5 so it doesn't clog up this episode. But TLDR, if you have a PlayStation 5, go play Astro's Playroom. It's a religious experience, and you'll not see a game that uses the DualSense as well as that does. I understand it's a tech demo purpose, but I seriously geeked out the entire time, especially when Astro's inside your controller and you shake the controller around. And you can like feel him and hear him rolling around inside it. It's just like,
I told you, man.
Amazing.
I told you, it's transformative. Like I'm already accepting no other game will ever use it as well as in depth as that. Like it will be one of a kind, but it is something fantastic. It's special.
Yeah, it definitely is. I also played through and beat Spider-Man Miles Morales. Took me about 10 hours to do the first run through. I'm going to clean up everything, then do New Game Plus for the Platinum. But really, really great game. I wish I could say more without being spoilery, but I really like Miles. They did a fantastic job of characterizing him and really separating him from Peter and not making him like a Peter Parker lackey and really fleshing him out as his own character in a really unique and beautiful way. But once again, something I'll talk about at length at another time. Eric, what have you been playing, my friend?
Excuse me. Oddly enough, I have not been back to Immortals Phoenix Rising. I decided to load up the Division 2 just to kind of see how it was doing on the Series X, with the update and everything. It's, because everyone comes saying how beautiful it looked and how well it ran. And that was the weekend. I got back into the Division 2. You didn't see that coming, did you?
Nope.
No. Eric, I'm actually kind of in shock here. I'm having to readjust my seat. Like, I'm not. We know you, man. We know you. We know how you are with some of these games. So, like, hearing that you got into the Division 2, like, what was it? I got to hear why. You need to describe this a little here.
Okay. Well, let's see. I picked it up. Remember, like some months ago, it was like $3, like on PlayStation and on Xbox, because they were, I guess, trying to get people in for the Warlords of New York DLC. So I grabbed it. At that point, I grabbed both PlayStation and Xbox copies, right? So I went in and checked it out. I was playing around with it or whatever, and I said, it wasn't really grabbing me at the moment, because I did like the Division 1, even though I never really leveled up completely. I played around and kind of moved on. So hearing, people saying how beautiful it looked and the frames, 60 frames per second and everything else, I was like, all right, just whatever reason, let me just go over here and check it out and see how the Series X handles it. It's insane, like how fast it loads. People are not exaggerating that. It looks beautiful. And I just started kind of going through some missions, and it was like, as I was going, I was like, all right, let me just do one more mission. I'll do one more side mission, and I'll do this, and I'll go do this. And then all of a sudden, it just started getting its hooks at me. And it was very organic. Like, I didn't fight it. I mean, I didn't get to play a ton because, like I said, busy weekend. So I probably did over the whole weekend, about 3 or 4 hours, just kind of running around. But I was just kind of having some fun with it. It was kind of like, it was like the perfect game. Odd enough to say this, it was the perfect game for a busy schedule, because I could just pick it up and just knock out a couple of side things or do a mission and jump back out and go do something else, come back and pick it up again. It was kind of like perfect. So, it was like Division 2. I was like, that's going to be an interesting story because, I'm sure, like you said, you didn't see that coming, did you?
Nope, so, definitely not. Absolutely not. But hey, you know what, man? That's cool. That's really cool. And I think not only is it cool for you to have experienced that, but it kind of attests how important it is. At times, I think we lose sight of this picture, how important it is to carry these games forward. Games that maybe you didn't play it back then, maybe you didn't play it when it first released or whatever. But now, like you said, you're having a completely different experience because the load times are like a few seconds by comparison to when they would have been a minute or a half a minute or whatever. Easily. 60 frames, that's probably making the combat more enjoyable and clicking better with your brain. Just a smoother experience. So that's cool. That's really cool. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, but I'll say, loading up in about 10 seconds. The Division 2 didn't do that before.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Some of these load times, because that game released, 2019, right? Or was it 2018?
Yes.
Yeah, it was 2019. Early 2019. Because I remember 2019 was when so many games released, and we were talking about how brutal the load times was. It was Division 2, Control, Metro Exodus, not Days Gone. Was it Days Gone? There was a PlayStation game that had them as well. Like, it was just bad in general. I remember the load times were awful. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So like I said, so I'm looking forward to playing that a little bit more of that. And other than that, Sarah and I have been playing Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze on Switch. So she's like all in on that now. So which has been a good motivator to get her to do her homework and pick up her stuff, stuff like that. I'm like, you want to play Donkey Kong? Get going. So she's been
nice.
So yeah. So then we'll like her little version of 6-year-old gamer ADD will kick in, and we'll jump over to something else. But for now, it's Donkey Kong. And almost any game that has a girl in it. So there's Dixie in there. That's what she looks. Is there a girl in it? I'm like, no, I don't want to play it. I'm like, all right, I respect that.
Good
I respect
stuff.
that.
You know what? Fair.
Yeah.
Totally fair. She knows what she wants. That's all right.
And then if there is a girl who was like an NPC, she's like, can you play as her? I'm like, no, she's done. Because honestly, we have a lot of games, and I noticed this. Like, she'll come in and be playing something, and we have so many games now that do have female protagonists, and that's awesome because she'll come in and she'll see, she's like, are you playing as a girl? I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh, and that kind of like you see, like her eyes light up or whatever. And sometimes in most games, like I'll create like a character and it'll be like a female. Like in Destiny, my hunter is a female character and stuff. So she's always kind of like enamored by that, So good stuff. But that's pretty much been it for me.
That's awesome. Wide variety of stuff. And man, I did not have Eric gang back into the Division 2 on my 2021 bingo card.
No, neither did I.
I had Jared gang into the Division 2 just because he was so desperate for a good looter shooter. But
oh man, well, yeah, I don't want to rebuy it on the PC just yet.
You got to wait for
some
that
time.
It's got to hit that sweet $3 price point, right?
Yeah, random Steam sale or something like that, and I'll be, now I'll start playing it.
Yeah. Sales are the worst. I saw Warlords in New York was on sale for $11. I bought it. I've got like 2 hours in the Division 2. I was like, why did I buy this? Why did I do this?
Yeah, I've already got like 40 or 50 hours in Division 2 on the Xbox originally when it first came out, and now I haven't touched it in forever. But I would definitely like to now, since with my beastly PC, those frames, I'll probably just be like Eric and get hooked back into it, which I'm actually okay with because I put a lot of time in the first game, like a lot of unreasonable amount of time in the first game.
Mm-hmm. No, it's like I said, it's been really interesting. But if there's a game, and I was actually talking to Slow-Mo about this because he's a big Division player. I said, if there's a game that needs cross progression and cross play, it's the Division 2.
Yeah,
and it's a shame. So, but he said he thinks that they might be working on it actually, like implementing it. He said for whatever reason, they seem to be more interested again in getting the Division 2 like going, where before it seemed like they were about to just completely bail on it. And I said, well, a big part of that may be, just like with me, the fact that they have the the next gen upgrade to it, so that may be pulling people back in. But I heard the Warlords of New York DLC is like really good.
Yeah, everyone, that was kind of this weird thing, man, where it was one of the 2 trips I remember taking before the whole pandemic happened. I think it was this weird case where you have an expansion about a viral pathogen breaking out and causing a lockdown right as the lockdown happened. And it was just sort of this weird, oh, maybe this is uncomfortable. I don't want to play this. I want to play something else. Everyone's focused. It seemed like that was the right expansion at the wrong time. Is what I'm saying. But like people who played the content say the content is good. So
right.
I've heard the same thing.
Yeah, I definitely think I also think Division 2 seems to flux too. I don't mean to take this as a knock on the franchise, unless Lord Cognito's listening, in which case this is a knock on it. But when Destiny 2 seems to flux downwards, or the players have a lot of issues, you see some of the other looter games pick up. You'll see Warframe numbers pick up. You'll see the Division 2 pick up and things like that. So when players get unhappy with their main game, they quite often will go elsewhere. And I think that also, with the next gen upgrade on top of everything else, real great time to get into the Division 2. I may hop back in. Me and Eric will have to do those 1 hour online dad sessions that we're all known for, is where you can hop on for about an hour before you fall asleep.
Yeah,
in the middle of the mission,
the controller in your hand, you're like,
yeah.
Yeah. Character running into the wall like over and over again. I've never done that.
No, never. Sam, what have you been playing, my friend?
I finished the medium. I remember saying that I was about to finish it last time around. I finished it. Everything I said back then still holds true. I don't have any updated thoughts, either negative or positive. Good experience. Hope Bloober gets more of a push. Not quite there. Controls are definitely retro, but story is intriguing. They're on to the horror elements. I want to see them do more horror. Think all that holds true. Glad I played it. Beyond that, I did buy Little Nightmares 2. I bought it because I was like, okay, I finished the medium. I'm going to do this. And I was going to start it today. Then today happened. Sammy did not start Little Nightmares 2.
Yeah, no.
So you know what?
Hopefully I'm going to start it tomorrow. But yeah, I didn't play much this weekend, and there you go. Also, I was busy with BlizzCon. So like that took out Friday and Saturday from me. So all I really had was a little bit of time on Sunday. Just putting it out there.
Yeah. Jim Ryan's sitting there with his like 50-year-old age wine swirling in a glass. I think I'm going to stop Sam from playing Little Nightmares 2 today. Jared, what have you been playing this week, my friend?
Not really a whole lot too different from what I have been previously playing. Can't even talk today. So yeah, that's exactly how my week's been going. But yeah, a little bit of World of Warcraft. I've been playing more Valheim, chipping away at that one. I'm still playing this other game called Foundation. I mentioned that a couple episodes ago. Another city sim kind of medieval type of resource management sort of game, which has been pretty fun and relaxing to get into. Started up Dishonored 2, doing that run again. Actually getting into it this time, which is pretty nice. And then I think that's about. Nope, I finished Little Nightmares 2. I know Sam started, but I actually finished it, and that's been nice. Fantastic ending. And it definitely wasn't expecting the direction it was going to go in, and I'm very curious to see Sam's reaction because it's very interesting and. It connects heavily with the first one. So if you play the first one and go straight into the second one, it probably might even be a bit more impactful. But it's, I think, a wonderful experience. And I wish, kind of sad that they're not really continuing on with Little Nightmares 2. I'm glad they're doing a new IP, but Little Nightmares is just so awesome. Mm-hmm. It's sad we only get 2. I want 5. There's 6.
I will definitely be hitting you up when I finish that. Then when I play that, I know Eric can't be too far behind in the grand scheme of things.
Man, I'm trying to finish some other stuff, but I'm going to end up breaking. I'm going to break.
It's that nice bit of a break of a game though that it's not long, right? So it's just pick up, get a couple sessions in, and it's done. It's nice. It's really really nice, but. That's all I've really been playing, and then I'll be trying out the new Outbreak Zombies mode tomorrow and seeing how that goes.
Right on, man.
Nice.
Great variety. Yeah, definitely appreciate the shorter games. Really appreciate the shorter games. That was something I found with Miles Morales, something I really appreciate. It was like to the point. The side stuff was great, but it didn't force me to do the side stuff, and the side stuff did not feel nearly as repetitive. And it better understood of what I had to do and what I wanted to do. Yeah,
I'm laughing.
Amazing stuff.
I'm laughing at B Money. He said he's circling everything in my background.
Heck yeah, B Money. We need like a full Minority Report style enhance. Get Tom Cruise in there zooming in. Large pictures. I'll have all the different monitors going. Yeah,
I'm not hiding any secret consoles or hidden possible acquisitions or anything like that in my background. It's not that interesting.
It's been funny seeing that pop up on Twitter because it's like after they've pointed it out. By the way, do you really think they can continue on doing that? Not really. No, they're probably like, this is what we've been doing. We're not going to do it anymore. We're not going to tell you
No. What they're doing now is Phil Spencer sits there and goes, all right, I want that in the background, I want that in the background, I want that in the background. And watch the world burn in 3, 2, 1, go.
None of these have any relation to each other. I just want to fuck with people. Let's just put this there and there. Ludens and Xbox. Yeah, let's do that. Perfect.
I think my biggest giggle was Zay Huge tweeting today. Oh God, I hope no one writes an article about this. And then I got home from work and there's like 6 articles about it. I'm like, they did it.
Oh,
Man.
But speaking of articles, we got a pretty interesting interview with Jim Ryan via GQ. And when I say interesting is I mean like usually with interviews, you get 1 or 2 really good key points out of that interview. And the rest is, I wouldn't call it filler, but it's back and forth. But this was a rather candid interview. This is actually one of Jim Ryan's better interviews, I would say. And they talked about a wide variety of things from their bring back their play at home initiative, the future of PSVR, Days Gone coming to PC, delays, everything else. So we're gonna tear this apart bit by bit. So we're gonna talk a little bit first about the PSVR changes. So, PSVR has been around for a while. It had some good success on the PlayStation 4. We've seen rumors about PSVR 2 for what seems like God knows how long, way too long. So in a blog post update, they went a little bit more in depth on what you can kind of expect from PSVR. The first key point is that it won't be releasing in 2021. It sounds like it was planned to be launched in 2021, but they're pushing it to 2022. That's what it sounds like anyways. It's going to have a single cord to simplify setup and improve ease of use while enabling a high-fidelity visual experience. One of the innovations we're excited about is our new VR controller, which will incorporate some of the key features found in the DualSense wireless controller, along with a focus on great ergonomics. And that's just one of the examples of future-proof technology we're developing to match our vision for a whole new generation of VR games and experiences. So some pretty interesting stuff in there. I'll kick around the panel what you guys think, and I'll go last on this as I'm not the biggest, VR believer. So I don't want to immediately rain on the parade. So is anyone excited for PSVR 2?
not really. Just because 1, talk to me when it's wireless, and 2, talk to me when it's $300. It's going to be like $800 retail at launch, I swear. At least it's going to be Canadian wise.
Well, everything's $800 Canadian retail wise in Canada. Eric, any interest in PSVR 2, or are you just gonna do what I do and buy a PSVR when they're stock clearing them out to get that experience that way?
I'm somewhere in the middle on the VR thing. There are some games I definitely want to check out, games that people recommended. I was kind of late to the whole PSVR, want thing. And it was so to the point where it's kind of like, we're like a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years out from whatever the PS5 is going to be. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be probably a new iteration on it if they're going to continue it. So first and foremost, it's good to see that they have not given up on it, because that was definitely a narrative people were like trying to run with when they first started getting into VRs. That Sony doesn't support peripherals, they don't support these things, and they bail on them. So it's good to see that they're continuing on supporting it. I am more intrigued by the fact that they're saying that they've gotten the wire thing down to at least 1. But I'm with Jared. A wireless headphone would have been beautiful, but I guess we'll get there. 1 is better than how many were under before, like 4 or 5 or something like that. Coming out of it, kind of had you looking like Weapon X.
Yeah.
So so for me, it'll depend on price. It'll depend on form factor, those different things, and I may actually jump in on 1. We'll see. I'm more intrigued now than I am by the first VR unit, because it's a higher resolution, which was something people said it desperately needed. That will aid with any motion sickness or anything like that. I'm guessing everything that they learned from doing the PSVR 1 will definitely go into the 2. So maybe it'll feel a little lighter on the head. It'll feel a little bit more comfortable, things like that. So, because I did demo it, a couple of times, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I don't know if I'm really ready to jump in. And like I said, as time went on, I just got to the point where it's like, I'll just wait and see what the next one's going to be. So, except for I missed Wario posted there was a QVC deal that came through once, and it was like $70 or $80. Like they priced it completely. They did something really wrong, and they honored it. People that got in on it, they honored it. They got like a PSVR with like 2 games for like $89 or something like that. Damn. I was like, damn. Yeah. That I would have jumped on. So yeah, but other than that, yeah, I'll see how it kind of all like falls out. We'll see.
Yeah. If I could find an original PSVR unit for under $500 in my country, I'd be happy.
Oh man. Yeah, I can see why you guys are like, no. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's all I remember from the first PSVR is when it went on sale. It was like $800, $900 on its own sort of thing, separate from the console. And the console itself was $600. It's like, oh, ow.
Wow.
That's brutal.
Right.
Yeah. Sam, what about you? PSVR 2? On the Believe train?
Maybe. Yes. No. Maybe so.
Oh, Sam's muted.
Sam?
Yeah. No, I was having tech difficulties there. If you guys can hear me now, it was just a little
absolutely
a little slow. But
no worries.
I think for me, it's in this weird place where I'm mostly with Eric. I would say I'm mostly with Eric overall. I want to see more. I kind of missed out on the PSVR train for the PS4. Like, for whatever reason, I mean, mostly financial, but also timing, games, other stuff like that. It just never came together. It was never the good opportunity. Missed the Wario $99 boat is what it is. So I'm interested in seeing what they do here. I want that to be a healthy thing for them. I have questions, definitely, about how it's going to go. I think that for an announcement, this was very bare bones on detail. Like, with all due respect, it was very obvious, like, oh, it's better in every way. Like, but are you going to give us specific details? Well, no. Like, so I don't know. I'm definitely a little, okay, this is a bare bones skeleton announcement. Come back to me when you have more. But I am glad it is something they are pursuing, for sure. Like, I'm definitely glad it's something that they're going to have, trying to set themselves apart. I'm interested to see what kind of first-party resources they put toward it, and which teams are going to have games for it, or is it going to be more of a relying on third-party thing? I don't know. I want to see that. I want to get those details, and I want to find out price and that sort of thing. So I'll be more interested when we get more information, is where I'm at.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a believer in the VR train. I'm sorry. It's people make fun of cloud gaming for being niche, and then they go on about VR, and I giggle at both. Because the practicality of VR, and I think, it's going to be a hard sell. It's not going to be a hard sell. Let me rephrase that. It's a hard pitch to VR users when you go, oh yeah, it's still corded, but it's better. If you went, it's wireless, it's premium, you could like kind of play it in a different way. I think it's a harder sell maybe to current users, unless they have a piece of software that they can really push with it. Like if you had like a Resident Evil Village to go with it or something like that.
I think the thing that would make sense is to make a deal with Valve, like put a cool few million Valve's way and get Half-Life Alyx on it as a launch game. That's what you do if you want to drive PSVR 2.
Not just that, but what would be a nice surprise is actually if you put haptic feedback system into the lens itself, would be kind of nice if you had it in the headset. So, maybe some vibrations around or whatever. But yeah, you feel like thumps in your head and your ears and whatnot as you're playing the game or whatever, and helps put you some immersiveness into the game or something to make it stand out compared to the competitors. So it adds new features, game enhancing features that make it sell.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. I think feature set and everything else is going to be important, and flexibility with what you can do with the VR set and everything else will be key. And if you want me to get a PSVR 2 day one, get Resident Evil Village on that thing and give me some sort of haptic feedback so I can feel really tall lady choke me. And You have hardware sale.
Just get your wife to do it while you're wearing the headset. I mean, she might get some, she might release some anger at the same time, and you'll get off. I mean, like, it's a win-win, buddy. Come on.
All right. All right.
We're calling it we're calling that VR portion of the game the Funky Spider-Man. Anyone who watches BoJack Horseman will get that reference.
It's basically Resident Evil 8, the BDSM simulator.
Yeah, and I think Glorious War brings up good points about the wireless versus the wired. I think that is kind of true. Like, if you're going to go completely wires, there are other factors, expense and everything like that. And I definitely think they are probably still trying to keep it to the mid-tier to casual market. They want something to be an additive to PlayStation, not something that's completely, whether you have to, like, with some of the Oculus stuff, you need a rig, or you need whatever, you need X, Y, Z. It's sort of like seen as a separate thing. I think they just kind of want to make it to where it's like a part of the PlayStation experience. So I could see that, So that's a good point.
Yeah, but I think the one thing that Sony's going to struggle with is the Oculus Quest 2 is literally $299 US, and it's wireless, and everything you need is built into the headset. So you literally have everything you need built into the headset for $300. So it's VR market's going to be really hyper competitive, and I think it's going to be the software that comes down to being the differentiator in the long run.
It will, and that's actually where I think the real battle for Sony is going to be. They have tech guys, they have engineers. They're going to figure that out. They're going to figure out what the best cost performance balance is. The bigger issue for them, I believe, is that Facebook snapped up so many VR devs from under their feet. Ready at Dawn, Sanzaru, Beat Games, like the big players in the VR space, Insomniac aside, they snatched them all up. So I think that's actually going to be, software is going to be the bigger challenge. So again, partner with Valve. That would be a good first step, I think.
Absolutely. If Valve's open to a partnership, pursue that. Like I said, VR's got a long, long way to come. Everyone said, Half-Life Alyx was going to be the game changer. It did some really astounding, incredible things, but everybody forgot about it a month after it launched. And it remains forgotten. Whereas if you had released a third Half-Life game, we'd still be talking about it. So fight me, Valve. But moving on to other things. One thing that Jim Ryan very much stressed in his interview was that the big PlayStation games for this year are Ratchet & Clank and Horizon Forbidden West. He doubled down on the fact that Horizon will be a 2021 game. He said it multiple times. So that's interesting. I will be proven very wrong if that comes out. There's no mention of God of War, or never heard of it too, if you're following the storylines for that game. So some interesting stuff there. Most interestingly, but not necessarily most surprising, due to COVID and other issues, Gran Turismo 7 has been pushed out of 2021 and will be pushed to 2022. I'm kind of surprised because what we've seen in that game so far, it looks amazing. So I thought they were really close, but maybe they just need to put some polish and shine on it to get it done. Or
I'm not, with all due respect, this is Polyphony Digital. They're not good about this at the best of times. Like, they did this back when there isn't a global pandemic. Back when everything is sorted. Back when they aren't launching, brand new on a new platform. They get pushed back and pushed back. This is a very unsurprising delay, I would say, and it's totally fine. So many games, as we've talked about, like this year is going to be worse, y'all. This year, buckle up, buckle down, breathe in. This year is going to be worse for game delays. There's more of them not related to Sony on the docket. We've talked about so many already. Games we're in February and they're getting pushed out of the year entirely. That's just where we're at. So you combine that with Polyphony Digital being who they are, and being, a Japanese team, and the fact that Japan got hit development-wise a lot harder in the early months than a lot of other teams did. Like, this is just a no-brainer. It's very unsurprising.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. This is, ever since the PS1 days, this is like what they do. This is how they do it, and it's always been like their thing. But I think people understand that, and they are okay with that, because inevitably in the end, the end product is always kind of worth the wait. So yeah, I wasn't surprised at all when they said they were going to delay it for like the same reason Sam said. That's what they do, and also pandemic. So yeah, I would have been surprised if it was going to be on time actually.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm sure they don't want to do a launch like they did with Gran Turismo Sport, because if I remember correctly, people were mad about something at launch with that in relation to something. I can't remember.
It was very bare bones. I didn't play it, but my understanding from people who are fans of it is it was very bare bones, and it took several updates to get the game into the position where it was like, okay, no, this is good. This is really good now.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Simulation racers, it's like VR to me. It's like, oh, cool. If you like it, awesome. If not, yeah.
I'm not a sim racer guy, so
yeah. I need to be able to arcade and spin my friends out, and I
want to jump my car off a hill and
right
over a train or something like that. I want to outrun cops and all that stuff. I don't want to get graded because I moved off the line a little bit and couldn't get my license to move to the next area. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I ain't about that life.
Shout out to those of you. Yeah.
All right. So this next bit, I don't know why people are surprised. They literally said this was going to happen, and people are acting surprised 2.0. It's like an HD remaster of the outrage from before. So we found out today that Days Gone will be coming to PC this spring, and following Days Gone will be a slew of other PlayStation titles that people have come to know and love. I'm going to say this right now. In the last report they did, when the last game came, when Horizon Zero Dawn came, they said, we're just getting started. And people somehow thought getting started meant it stops with Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn was insanely successful on PC. They patched the bejesus out of it and fixed a lot of the issues they had at launch. They learned a lot from that launch. And now they're going to continue that course with releasing more games onto PC. I don't understand where there's even a conversation to have here, because honestly, the meltdowns I'm seeing about it make no sense to me, because the game's on the PlayStation Plus collection. So you can literally, if you have PlayStation Plus and a PS5, you can play it for free. The game's been on discount so many times, you can pick it up for $15. If you're mad that somebody's going to have to pay $40 to play a painfully average zombie game, I don't know. I don't know how to help you. I just don't. Anyone got any hot takes with this?
Jared, Eric, I feel like I've hammered a lot tonight so far. Do you want to say something, or I'll say something if you don't?
Jared's just like, Demon Souls to PC when?
Yeah, you can see it. It's written all over his brain. It's written all over his brain. That's exactly where he's at.
I'll say this, and there's just a certain boat that goes to an island where certain fanboys just live, right? And when you see these reactions to these things, it's really nothing is changing. There's nothing different going on here. It's only changing in the advent of it's not doing the traditional console generation thing. It's not doing the traditional, but I mean, it's not the first time in history that games that were on console moved over to PC at some point, and what Sony is doing, they're from a business standpoint, what Jim Ryan said is true. It's like costs are going up. These are things that we have to, to survive, we have to explore and try. But as of right now, nothing has changed. I mean, they're still focused on releasing on PS5 first, and then later, when a game has lost its legs, what is the difference with throwing it on PC to get a double dip, and now you have a whole other audience, right? So in that regard, nothing has changed. Now, that may change more in the future, and we'll deal with the tummy aches when we get to that point too. But it really hasn't changed. But if I can go on a soapbox for a minute, which most of these people are, if you're more ingrained into fighting console wars and Twitter wars, this is why it affects you, and this is why it hurts you, because it's misplaced aggression and anger. You're not mad at Sony or Microsoft when they make these moves. You're mad that you no longer have ammo to fight with somebody about. That's bottom line. That's basically what it is. And you see it over and over again. And it's like, I want to be able to own people and make them keep their energy, because that's what I live for. So when you take that away, it's like you feel lost, you feel empty, you don't know what to do anymore. You know, because I had this to lord over you. Now they've taken that off the table, and now I feel lost. Go play a game. If you feel depressed, you feel sad, you feel whatever, go play the game that you probably already beat 4 times, and now somebody on PC is going to get to play it. Doesn't affect you, doesn't bother you, you know. And if you're thinking, well, this is just the beginning, and now, you know, it's going to devalue this and it's going to devalue that. If you really feel that strongly about it, you feel like it's no longer going to be good, then maybe gaming isn't for you anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, nobody's saying this with HBO Max doing what they have to do, or not HBO Max, but like companies like WB doing what they have to do to survive in a pandemic and putting movies day and date on a service. Nobody's mad about that.
Yep.
Doesn't devalue HBO
very good
Max.
comparison.
It adds value to HBO Max for a lot of people. Why is it, you know, what do I care? I don't care. If I can play the game, I can play the game. I don't care if somebody else gets it. If you're telling me, well, you can't get it at all, then I might have an issue. But I don't know. That's just my soapbox.
Yeah.
No. I stand by your soapbox 100%, Eric. Like, it's just okay. All right. Yeah. I'm trying not to repeat what you just said, but I stand in agreement in full. You know, it's development costs are going up. These games are not cheap. Making photorealistic games that try to push the industry forward, that, you know, take hundreds and hundreds of people multiple years to make, and you're trying to make them faster, or you're trying to make them at least not take even longer with the pandemic. This is not cheap. These salaries are going to go up. Game prices, we've already seen, are going to go up a little. But, you know, you didn't stop getting great games. Last time I checked, Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, and Horizon are still coming out this year. You know, Gran Turismo has been delayed, but it's still coming out. The new God of War is still coming out. We just got Demon Souls and Miles Morales and Astrobot. So it's just this situation of, yeah, the people who have bought Days Gone, and I'm one of them. I platinumed that game, so I get to criticize it about its issues because I spent the 50 hours getting the platinum in it and all that. The people who have bought Days Gone are going to buy it, or rather, the people who were going to buy it have bought it. Sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied tonight. It's like no one is holding on to their PS4 waiting for the right opportune moment to buy Days Gone or Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War. They done been bought. That's where it is. And so if they can make more money and make these developers' lives easier by then 2 to 3 years later porting the game over and then double dipping, why not? Why would you not do that? Seems like the objective win-win scenario here. Seems like the best of both worlds to keep your console ecosystem going, but also get the double dip on PC. If they do ever get to, you know, day and date releases with PC, which, by the way, I would be okay with, just to be clear. I think the advantages of that vastly outweigh the disadvantages. But if they do get to that point, different discussion to be had. But we're not there yet, so chill a little, please. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about that. This is objectively a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. Jared, your thoughts before I jump in.
Well, I don't got too much other than I'm happy that they're coming to PC because it gives me more games to go back and either re-experience or just experience for the first time in general. I like seeing fanboys cry. It's kind of fun, not gonna lie. I've been pretty quiet about it, but yeah, I've been really enjoying seeing all the turmoil and a lot of fanboys crying out and getting really angry because honestly, it makes me feel good that I don't act like that. That I act like an adult. But I think it was inevitable. I'm happy that it's happening, and that's all I really got for thoughts. I'm just kind of passive on this one.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Sam made a great point. Eric made a great point. Jared made great points. Doesn't matter. You can enjoy things. Believe it or not, you can enjoy things. And other people enjoying things shouldn't take things away from you enjoying things. Because if it does, you're a fucking psychopath and you should go see a therapist. But the main thing here is that PlayStation's built a brand a brand this past generation on delivering you top of the line AAA experiences. And yes, I keep hearing everybody, but the sales on these games are amazing. They are. But when you have to spend $150 million versus $75 million and you only get 5 million more copies sold, you're not making as much money as you can. You need to optimize that. AAA games are not as easy to make profitable as people think they are. Unless you get, your FIFA, your Madden, your Call of Duty, you get some guarantees, but that money isn't always guaranteed. We've seen AAA games flop and flop hard, and we've seen the repercussions of them flopping hard. You need as much guarantees as you can get, and sometimes, if it underperforms in one space, maybe it'll succeed in another space. All you have to do is kind of look at Cyberpunk as an example. I know it's a really, really drastically different situation. But the thing with Cyberpunk is that game sold exponentially better on PC because it had less issues on PC. But it sold more to a PC audience because that was what that game was orientated to. I really honestly believe a game like Dreams would sell better on PC than it does on PlayStation. Because the peripherals are more intuitive and everything else. And games like that where you can create and everything else, PC Space loves those games. That game's going to do numbers on there. If PlayStation ever released an RTS, if they never released it on PC, I'd call them crazy. It's those kind of decisions that are coming. And honestly, like I said prior, if someone getting to play a game bothers you, get help. My PlayStation 5 all of a sudden didn't turn to a plastic frisbee because somebody gets to play Days Gone 2.5 years later. Maybe now that it's not an exclusive, when I say it's a super average clone of a lot better games, people won't get so mad about it. Maybe. But regardless, more people get to play more games. It's not a bad thing. And you can scream into oblivion about it, but no one's listening. I just hope that AP dude's got about 9 more desks because he's going to have a lot of desks to smash the next couple of months. As B-Money said, those numbers are great, but they aren't Nintendo numbers. Everybody dreams of Nintendo numbers. But it is what it is, and life will move on. But speaking of moving on, we still can't get away from the PlayStation news because they dropped all this, and then they were like, hey, you want more? Of course you want more. So there's going to be a PlayStation Direct on Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want another time zone, go find the tweet. EST, BST. But
2 p.m. Pacific, people. 2 p.m. Pacific.
Nobody cares about Pacific people.
They might be listening. I'm trying to help. I know how confusing time zones can be for me, man. So I'm trying to help. I'm trying to put it out there.
I may live in Calgary, but I am a genuine born West Coaster, asshole.
See, right there. Right,
Yeah.
even right there.
See, that explains why Jared's such a filthy hippie.
A little bit, honestly.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna have a state of play. And no, it won't just be Jim Ryan reading out what games are coming to PC. We're gonna see. I believe they detailed it. Sam, they did some details on what we would expect to see. Correct?
Yeah. So it's going to be 30 minutes long, give or take. Maybe a minute under, maybe a minute over. It'll be 30 minutes long. 10 games will be featured, both AAA and indie, both third party and first party. There will be new games revealed, and there will be updates on games that were first revealed back at the Future of Gaming in June. That event. So we can discuss in a bit like what we think will be there, but that's the expectation to set, so to speak. 10 games, 30 minutes, first and third. Like, good mix in there. Very good mix. And they also did say there's not going to be any hardware-related announcements and no business-related announcements. So, they're not going to announce a change to PS Now or PS Plus. They're not going to announce buying some studio or whatever. Like, this is games. It's just games is what they're focused on here.
It blows my mind how much hand-holding PR has to do now when it comes to these events, because people will be like, PS6 announcement? PS6 announcement, right? GTA 6? GTA 6 is going to be there, right?
You're a little exaggerating, but like you're not too far off. Like there is unfortunately a reason they put these disclaimers in there, for sure. So I guess that the question would be, what do you guys expect to see / hope to see in this event?
Kina.
Okay.
Yeah. Forbidden West gameplay for sure. I think we'll get a nice, good look at that.
Yeah, and I think you could end up seeing like Horizon, kind of like doing the same thing with Ratchet. Kind of to promote, like a stay-at-home play type thing. To promote that new game and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Kina definitely, that's high on my list of things. I think they'll definitely give updates on and show. You guys think anything from Insomniac other than Ratchet? Anything?
Insomniac is a workhorse, but I feel like even they are kind of at their limit right now. I think the only thing we see from them is if there's a new gameplay trailer for Ratchet, which is possible. Like Ratchet is their next. I know Returnal is going to be on April 30, but Ratchet is their next big first-party in-house game that their teams are developing. So it makes sense to show Ratchet again. It makes sense to keep Ratchet in people's minds, show some more gameplay, maybe even gameplay with like the new Lombax. The female Lombax, or reveal her name. Rumor is her name is Rose or Rosie, something like that. Maybe we get to play as her in addition to Ratchet. That would be cool. So I think if there's something from Insomniac, Eric, it'll be them. I don't. Even Insomniac kind of feels like they're at their limit right now with how much stuff they've been doing. Now here's one I want to put past you. And I agree on the Horizon gameplay. I think Jared, you're absolutely right. I think we definitely see something Horizon related. Yeah. Even if it's just a new trailer. Even if it's just a new trailer to close off the show.
Something.
Do we... Yeah, exactly. Here's an interesting question. Do we finally get to see... Because they said PS4 and PS5 games. They did not say this was exclusively PS5. Do we get to see Last of Us 2 Factions, the multiplayer, from Naughty Dog?
I mean... It would be
timing wise. It would make sense.
Yeah, it would make sense. It would.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I still am very skeptical on it even happening, sort of thing. But it definitely could. I don't know. That's a good one.
Right?
That's a good one.
It's kind of 50-50. It's kind of like, ooh, maybe, but ooh, maybe not. Like, because the problem is, this is my read on. The problem is it depends on how big this thing is going to be. We know it got too big to the point, like they flat out said we didn't think we could do it justice just tacking it on to Last of Us Part 2. So we're going to deliver it separately at a separate date later on, do the single player first. But the question is, how big is this thing? And do they do like a remaster, like a PS5 port of The Last of Us Part 2? I think that's very likely. It's kind of mysterious, right? Ghost of Tsushima got the 60 FPS patch. God of War did. All the Spidey stuff happened. But we haven't heard hide nor hair on Last of Us Part 2 yet. And that's their biggest game. Like, objectively, it is literally their biggest game. So, I don't know. I'm just sort of trying to read the tea leaves. I'm just looking at everything out there.
I will say, with how technical Last of Us 2 is and how it already looks, will they even be able to do anything to provide it enough of a substantial upgrade on the PS5 other than just letting the raw power from the machine itself just run the game better? Like,
I think 60 FPS.
Do you think they'll actually be able to achieve 60 FPS?
Oh yeah, like the CPU should make the difference. Oh yeah, like they can do 60 FPS. They can do 60 FPS and some stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud because maybe you want to talk about Days Gone. Days Gone coming to PC. Days Gone launched on PS4 back in 2019, so it's been 2 years. I mean, essentially 2 years at this point. Maybe a teaser for Days Gone 2, something like that.
You're giving me that stank face with Days Gone 2.
Nick, Actually,
It
you know
could
what?
happen.
No, I know
Absolutely.
your situation. You had your save file and all that. Like, I get it.
I just if I could erase the first 15 hours of that game from my memory, I would have fonder memories of it.
What about something Ghost of Tsushima related, like with Legends, like adding a new raid or something like that?
Yeah, there could be like a new DLC for Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that would make perfect sense. Like, yeah, that seems perfectly reasonable. There's no reason that Sucker Punch couldn't. I mean, we know they're going to work on a sequel, but like, you got to imagine they've got people. Legends was well received, right? People really like Legends. They took to it. Yeah, a new raid for Legends could work. I think all this definitely emphasizes to me though, like stuff like Kena, Ratchet, Horizon. That's the focus. That's definitely the big titles that you really key in on. You show a lot of. We need a release date for Kena and that sort of thing.
There's a couple other games though that I think might show up. One of them is Quantum Error. We haven't heard about that game in a long time. That first person shooter survival horror game that they're making or whatever it is. They got the PlayStation marketing deal with it, so it has to go through PlayStation at some point. We don't have a release date. We haven't heard from them in a long time. They've been pretty quiet, so I'm hoping to hear something from them. I do think we'll be seeing something from Atomic Heart. Might show up there because I'm pretty certain they don't have an Xbox marketing deal. It is very heavily PlayStation, especially for how long I've been watching their website. It's very heavy PlayStation sales focused, PlayStation or PC. There's very little, like you can't buy certain editions of the game on Xbox, for example. So I'm pretty sure if we're going to see anything from Atomic Heart or about that, especially like a release date, it's going to happen soon. And then there was one other game too I was thinking about. But we'll move on. I'll probably press my line.
That's fair. A lot of possibilities.
There's one that I saw. I'm hijacking this, but I'll give full credit to the tweeter for this. Zach Robertson, who's been on the show, ironically enough, good guy. He tweeted out, what if Disco Elysium is a PlayStation Plus game? It launches on PlayStation Plus. I'm not necessarily in agreement with that, but I do think we'll see some Disco Elysium related stuff on PlayStation. That game has a significantly large cult following, and a lot of people have been itching for a console version of that. So I think it'd be very smart of PlayStation to showcase a little bit of that, because does have a PlayStation 4 version, I believe. So that would fall into the gray area of PS4 and PS5 games.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see, but I definitely think I agree with Sam. Horizon, Clank, Kena, good stuff.
Well, Glorious War and B-Money don't think we'll see factions until this summer.
Yeah, like I said, I'm 50-50 on it. I think it's very possible we do. I think it's very possible we don't. It depends on the scale of what they're going for. So they could very well be right. We could very well be waiting until summer or even September. We could even be waiting past summer. Just a lot of information we don't know.
It's dry out here, Sam. It's dry out here.
Oh my God, Eric. I am legitimately glad there's something to write about. I'll say that. Like, I'm glad whatever we get, I'm glad there's news. I'm glad stuff's happening. Makes me happy.
Right.
Oh, final one before we move on. Deathloop. We gotta see something.
You know what? That's fair.
Deathloop related.
That's fair.
If they don't, it's getting delayed again.
I'm calling it now. Game, Nick. A Bethesda game.
Oh my God. I don't.
You stop that. You stop that. Knock it off.
That was a trigger word these days, man.
No, I still want the tiers. I want the tier collection jar for if Deathloop launches on PlayStation and PC, and it goes on to PC Game Pass first. I want the tier collection jar for that, even though I'll be paying for it on PlayStation. I already pre-ordered the deluxe edition because God bless Arcane. Support good developers.
That Best Buy Steelbook is nice.
There's a Best Buy Steelbook for Deathloop?
Yep. Best Buy is like the king of the Steelbooks.
All right, my EB Games pre-order just got canned. Going to Best Buy.
Yep. RE
All
Village
right.
Steelbook also.
Oh, man, I need to use Best Buy more.
Goodness.
Gravity
Good
Rush
stuff.
Gravity Rush 1 and 2 on PC so somebody can play them.
You kind of got a point, man. It's like,
Yeah, I feel bad because I bought both those games, have them installed on my PS4, and now I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll play them on PS5. I feel terrible. I know they're good games. I
gotta
too
get
many games, man.
I have to get 2. I'll get to playing 2. I played through 1. I got to go play 2.
Yeah.
I have it also. Yeah, I picked it up also.
So, an interesting turn of events. A few weeks ago, Drew Murray, I think like 2 weeks ago, Drew Murray left the initiative, citing family reasons and needing to reevaluate some things. And now he came back and announced that he is back working at Insomniac Games, which means the Resistance dream lives on, baby. God bless. You know what? I'm gonna get on my. I'm gonna borrow Eric's soapbox for a second. All the people that threw shit at Drew Murray when he joined the initiative, and then all the people that flung shit at Drew Murray when he rejoined Insomniac this week, do better. Do better. Drew Murray is one of the few developers that is very active on a social platform and will talk about stuff within his game development. I remember reading a 30 tweet thread that he had on, game design and resistance. And I'm just sitting there, just reading all of it, enjoying every second of it. And, him talking about Sunset Overdrive, and like Sunset Overdrive wasn't one of my favorite games I ever played. But man, when he talks about it, it makes me want to play it. He's just a very passionate, really genuine guy. And it really bugs the hell out of me how people are just so aggressive towards him and others in the social media space. And, he lost his brother like 2 weeks ago. And he changed jobs and everything else. It's obviously a very tumultuous time for him. Don't be an asshole. All right, I'm off my soapbox now. Eric, Jared, thoughts? Drew Murray back at Insomniac Games.
I like it. It's just, I don't want to go down into the weeds because, like we said, the guy lost his brother. So whatever his reasoning for leaving the initiative, he said he needed some time to focus or whatever. It kind of is what it is. It definitely seems interesting, because, when someone kind of says like they're taking some time, they got to, reassess, figure some things out. You don't typically see them go and, within a month, like go to a different company, but I'm with it. Like, cause that means we might get Sunset Overdrive too.
Yeah.
And I'm being selfish gamer for a minute, but I'll co-sign with you on that. Whatever the reason, I don't understand the need to be shitty, and again, console war ingraining in the Twitter sphere, in the bubble. It has completely like meth, rotted brains, and maybe not teeth, but definitely brains. And it's just, no, because you can watch the people who are like, they're just so into it. Like they can't think of anything outside of dunking and outside of owning and outside of, making these or trying to force people into a box of belonging to something the way they feel they belong to something. So that means, even though, and I'll say this, I laugh all the time, and I'm going to use like some of the Xbox guys just as an example right now, because even I have to preface that because people take what you say and kind of run with it. For as many times as Phil Spencer has said he doesn't like, the tribal culture, he doesn't like console warrings, that is the part that people cut out from like the Xbox side of things. Like they always talk about his words and they go to and say, well, you didn't understand what he meant and you didn't understand what he said. It's like, well, he said he doesn't like console wars or tribalism, but you guys seem to cut that part right off, and that's the thing. People are so ingrained in it. And it's like someone leaves a company, they literally think that it means they have an allegiance to this or have an allegiance to that. And I'm like, how many people work at these companies, people that may work in PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox, who prefer the competing platform, people who work in Apple who prefer Android, people, vice versa. It's like people who work at New Balance, but like Nike. It's just, It's just a dumb thing. And I know it seems social media is a breeding ground for this type of stuff. I know it happened in forums over the years and, different places like that, but the instant access of, social media just incubates it. Right.
Yeah.
Like it takes so much more energy to be a dick all the time.
Yeah. And I don't want to cut you off. I don't
No,
want to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you.
I'm done.
I'm
done. Go ahead.
At the risk of going a little broader than this topic, and like not this thing in particular, but like expanding on what you said, there is definitely this just dangerous critical mass of what fandom means, and there's kind of a reckoning coming, if that makes any sense. As far as I'm concerned, of like just discussion in general feels like it can't be sustained the way a lot of the crowd wants to sustain it. And I don't know what the answer is. I just think it's a perfectly valid observation to make right now, because it's not people who are actually invested on the actual topic. It's not for me to understand. I don't know. Maybe it's less stress. Maybe it's maybe it's the reason, like, why you text your ex at 3 a.m. in the morning. It's like when you're feeling down. It's like maybe Insomniac is the comfortable place Drew needs to be, at a vulnerable place in his life. If you want to spitball a little bit, like that's where family and friends are. I don't know. It's not up to me to know. I'm just happy the guy is still going to be making games because he's a brilliant mind, and I don't want the industry to lose him. I'm glad he's out of retirement. That's all I'll say about it.
Yeah, because that kind of thing can happen too. Like, you had an idea of what you wanted to do, and you bounce out. And like I said, all we could really offer is speculation. And right now, where's that going to really go? Like, whatever his reasonings are, they're his reasonings, and he's an asset to go back to Insomniac, regardless. Doesn't matter. But it's funny because I saw some of his replies to people, in the congratulations, and it was almost like he had to take a tone in some cases of, knowing that people were probably going to come after him, because that's kind of what you do now with social media. It's like you hover over the send button. Like, do I want to send this or do I not want to send it? And I know I feel that way, and I'm nobody on social media, but I can't imagine what it's like to be a developer or to be an executive at a company or anything like that. Because again, the reason you see the fallout from people in social media when a move happens or a change happens or when a company does company stuff, which at the end of the day, I keep saying to people, they don't care. The only bottom line is to separate you from your money. Now as people, they may care, but ultimately, individually, they have a business to run. So businesses are going to do, guess what, guys? Business things that help their bottom line. If the difference is not making this move and we'll go out of business versus we got to do this and continue to stay in business, they're always going to pick, we got to do this to stay in business, right? But people are so ingrained in this thing of like ownership and, belonging and, I got to show how loyal I am to this thing and how much I love it. And what happens is when the bottom falls out, you have the same reaction and feeling of losing something or losing someone or having a breakup or whatever. And it's like, again, it's misplaced aggression, misplaced emotion around inanimate objects at the end of the day. It's a very interesting thing to watch, people break down this way. And I'm like, man, it's a very strange thing. So to kind of circle it back to what Nick was saying, watching people when he left be dicks, when he returned be dicks, get mixed in with people who are just like, hey man, that's awesome. Congratulations. Do what you got to do. It's an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah. And I echo what Sam said. Drew Murray's a great creative mind. It was a shame when he retired after Sunset Overdrive. I'm glad he came back with the initiative. And if he's back doing things in Insomniac Games, and I tweeted at him, congrats on being back in Insomniac. Can't wait to see Resistance again. Teasing. A little bit. Drew, if you're listening to this, teasing a little bit. But the man's behind some of my favorite games. And I'll always give him the respect for that. And, if he felt sometimes the best job isn't the job that you want. An example is, I got a job offer recently through the work that I do full time, and it paid like $20 an hour more than the job I do now. But I like the job I do now. I like the people. I like the environment. I like the culture of where I am. The more money, it's not really an incentive. Sometimes people will take more money and try something new and strike out a bit and then go, you know what? I want to go back to what feels safe. And if what Drew needed right now when he was going through a lot of stuff was to go back somewhere where he felt safe and comfortable and where it wasn't as new and everything else, then more power to him. And I wish him the best in the future, no matter what he does in Insomniac. Just excited to see, hopefully excited to see him happy and, tweeting all about all the games he's working on again in the future.
Sunset Overdrive 2.
Yes.
That's all he's allowed to work on.
you remember how we were talking about projecting feelings onto things, Eric?
Yeah. Or
it's more understandable, but still.
Or putting them out in the universe.
Yeah. Skyward Sword HD. Okay, that's later.
Oh, man. That's devil's work. We'll get there.
We're gonna get there. But first, we gotta talk a little bit about BlizzCon, man. There's some great things that came out of BlizzCon. Some great interviews done by some great people, which we're gonna get into. I just want to highlight the one most ironic thing from BlizzCon, which of course was Twitch pulling the audio off the Metallica concert because of DMCA takedowns and having it put indie pop music over the front, which is ironic because a lot of the copyright rules that we fight against in this modern era started because of the whole Metallica versus Napster thing. So to see that come full circle in my lifetime, beautiful. But we got some cool World of Warcraft stuff. We got some cool Hearthstone stuff that I fell asleep through. But most importantly, we got some Diablo stuff. And not only did we get some Diablo stuff, Sam did some really great interviews in regards and answered a lot of questions about not only Diablo 4, but also Diablo 2 Resurrected, which is, the return of possibly one of the most beloved PC games, and it'll be coming to console for the first time ever. So I'm going to kick it over to Sam and let him spread the good Lord's work with this stuff.
Yeah, okay. So I don't want to take up too much time. Like, both of the interviews are on Windows Central, so you can go read those if you want like more real nitty-gritty detail. But I will say the top takeaway for Diablo 2 is cross progression is cool. Like, it's cool that you're going to be able to play on, have your character upload to Battle.net on your Switch or on your PC or Xbox or whatever. Like, that's really cool. And it's also coming for Diablo 4, and they're working on crossplay for Diablo 4, which is really cool. Diablo 2, the way they actually pitched it to me is that, and you can toggle the new graphics and the old ones with just the flip of a button, which is really cool. But the way they explained it is the original game is the puppeteer, and the new graphics and features and all that are the puppet. So nothing is being changed, and you avoid that Warcraft 3 Reforged mess and the whole situation they had there because nothing is actually being changed. They're just adding on top of it, and that's really cool. And I'm glad that more people are going to get to experience it, because it's hard to talk about PC games that defined PC gaming more than like Doom. But if you want to have that conversation, Diablo 2 is one of them. Like, Diablo 2 is one of those legendary titles that people just spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in. It's that and like World of Warcraft. Like those are the big Blizzard games that defined PC gaming. So that's cool. I'm glad that people are going to get to play it. I've never played Diablo 2, but I'm going to be able to now, and that's really, really neat.
Same. I'm excited to finally play Diablo 2.
Nice. We'll have to get a raid party going. We'll have to get a party going because we can play.
I never got
co-op.
to play it. Diablo 3 was my first Diablo.
Same here.
Yeah, same. So. And I liked it. I like Diablo.
Okay, I liked it too. And
all right. I put job postings for panel members for the gaming perspective going up after
oh
this
my
show.
God.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe we're looking for a new host.
Nick, you didn't like Sunset Overdrive, so
he's got a point.
Yeah.
He's got a point. Okay, for real.
Sam, have you
for real?
Yeah.
For real, I'm very glad that everyone's going to get to play this game. It seems like Blizzard is taking it seriously. Vicarious Visions is the right choice for a team to handle this. And it seems like they're actually getting to keep their creative independence and their spirit, even though they've been moved under Blizzard, which is really cool. That was something I came away feeling more encouraged by, so to speak. And, and also I asked them if we get to see skateboards as a junk item, as a little Tony Hawk joke since they made that remake. And they didn't say no. They actually said they're going to look into it, and we're going to see what happens. So when we're raiding together, if you're raiding out there in Diablo 2 later, if you see a junk item that's like a skateboard, I caused that. I just want you to know that.
All right.
Put that
all
out.
All I want to know is when we group raid, if we can kill the end game boss by doing kick flips, I'm giving Sam I'm buying Sam 2 full price games. If we can kick flip at the end of the game, or if there's a splash screen of my character kick flipping in the end screen.
No,
Perfection.
there's like a gear set that just looks very skater, like the boots look like Vans.
Yeah.
The armor's kind of got like a flannel thing going on.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Got like the Kurt Cobain hair with that baseball cap on. Yeah, we're cooking with peanut oil right now.
I'm with it.
Yeah, no. Diablo 2 is such an interesting game because it was such a key part of my childhood. I made the joke, I can't imagine Diablo 3 being your guys' first Diablo because, I was raised on PC gaming, not console gaming. But I think that's what's so brilliant about all these remakes, remasters, and everything else is you get to experience such an important part of gaming history again and see it in a new light or a better and improved way. And I think there's just something so special about that. It's the same thing I said when Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 came across to console. It's just warm and fuzzy feelings. And the stuff on Diablo 4 looks promising too, right, Sam?
Yeah. So Diablo 4 is definitely a ways out. That's the thing. I want to be very clear. Even in a pre-pandemic world, this game was not coming this year. Just want to get that out there. And the pandemic has not made that any better whatsoever. But they showed the rogue class, which is really cool. The rogue class is informed kind of by, the demon hunter class from 3 and the assassin class from Diablo 2, respectively. And so they've combined them into sort of this new archetype for what a rogue can be. She can call down a hail of arrows, imbue her weapons with poison or ice. She's really cool, but she's physically fragile. So she has to stay on the move. And again, if you want more nitty-gritty details, I have the interview up on WC, but we talked a lot. And what I thought was interesting is this idea that terrain and the open world, they want to do some interesting things with that by having classes scale terrain differently. So a barbarian is big and strong and stocky, so he can leap off a cliff. Well, a rogue is physically fragile. A sorceress is physically fragile. They can't. They're going to have to climb down, and that's going to take longer. But maybe they might be able to navigate land, more easy than the barbarian or the druid can in certain ways. And that changes both how you interact with the environment and also how you fight other players in PvP zones. So I thought that was very interesting. I thought using traversal that way is not something you hear talked about a ton, especially in these kinds of games. So
that feels. Correct me if I'm wrong. That feels almost very Larian inspired in terms of how they're trying to lay things out. Or if I'm pulling that the wrong way, just let me know. But that feels very like what Larian did with Divinity, to an extent.
No, you're absolutely right. At a how do I say this, heftier cadence. A quicker cadence, perhaps. It's not as slow and methodical as Larian's games, but yeah, you're right in terms of how certain classes can scale up or climb vines or whatever. Yeah, that's not a bad comparison to make. So I'm excited. I'm interested. Diablo 4 ain't coming soon, but I'm interested for sure.
Yeah, I just after hearing Rod Ferguson talk a bit about Diablo and what it meant to him and the future of the franchise, I feel so much better about Diablo's future right now. The mobile game got decent previews. Diablo 2 Resurrected looks amazing. Diablo 4 sounds promising. It feels really good for Blizzard to be on track with this. I want to add as a Cliff's note too, it was weird that the Overwatch 2 discussions and news wasn't part of the main showcase because they showcased a lot of stuff in regards to Overwatch 2. And I implore you, if you're interested in Overwatch, go read some of it. There is a ton of stuff that they just kind of like nonchalantly talked about that game, and covered a lot of details on it. And there's a lot of good stuff coming. It's not just the port and switch we thought it was going to be originally. So won't go too much into detail on that because we got a lot of ground to cover yet still. But I do have a roundup piece on all that on Windows Central. # shameless plug. But speaking of things that are disappointing, Nintendo. Nintendo. I went back and watched last week's episode of ours and how optimistic we were. All the things we were going to see. And then some asshole brought up Skyward Sword HD.
Who was that? Who could that have been? Who among us would do such a thing?
I'm blaming Jared at this point. I will shift the blame to Jared because by Canadian association, we shuffle things back and forth.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. I will take the blame for something you do at a later date.
I'll make sure it's.
But okay, I'm gonna kick this off. We can talk about specific announcements that are interesting to you guys, because we could go over every single announcement and it would take a lot of time, and I think it's not worth it.
Sure.
I don't want to sound like a dick, but I think I'm outgrowing Nintendo now, and I don't mean to say that in like a condescending way. But there is very few things they do anymore where I'm like, I need that. 98% of what they showed at that Direct, I was like, oh, look, Square Enix is making another JRPG that's done in a classic graphics style. It looks exactly like Octopath Traveler, but it's Final Fantasy Tactics. It's another project game by Square Enix. Woo. I know everyone who listens to this show that loves JRPGs, their eyes just rolled into the backs of their heads listening to me say that. But it's true. It's not interesting to me. And to cap off your show and be like, yeah, Skyward Sword $60 HD port. That's the big reveal. And I'm like, okay. We're going to have a whole discussion topic about that. But for me, this showcase cemented to me that my Nintendo Switch remains my kid's console. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way. If you love the games that they're bringing, enjoy them. But there's just nothing that Nintendo's offering to me right now that is intriguing or interesting. That's pulling at my I need to play this moments.
I mean,
Jared,
that's fair.
Jared, I want you to
Jared,
because I you've got the same kind of like disapproving smirk I had while I was watching the Direct, so I want to kick it to you in regards to this.
Honestly, the only thing that was memorable for me, or what I can think up of right now, is Mario Golf. That's it. That's it. And honestly, it actually looks like a lot of fun. The whole like
it
racing
does.
down the golf
It
course
does.
and with your friends and like having
Mario
that time
Kart
attack
Golf?
thing. Man, it looks right. It looks legit. It looks
No,
like a
the
lot of fun.
3DS, the one on 3DS was awesome.
But I never had a 3DS, so
Yeah, I actually felt that should have been the game that they punched up more and highlighted more. They kind of glanced over it. If you think about it,
they did at the very start there too.
No, I mean Mario Golf didn't was a when it hit 3DS, man, that was a game everybody was like talking about and playing. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jared.
No, it's fine. Like seriously, that's like the only thing I can remember from that showcase.
That's pretty sad.
I know, like that's it. Like I'm drawing blanks on like all the other things that they showed up, and I'm okay with that. I guess.
Those Smash characters didn't get you going,
bro. Look, there wasn't Metroid Prime trilogy, nothing Metroid Prime 4 related. I don't care what else was really shown at that show. It's not Metroid Prime. I don't want to know.
3 more months, Jared. 3 more months. You said it 3 times. 3 more months.
I don't even know who the hell those characters in Smash are. I don't know. What game are they from? I'm so lost. I don't know half the characters in Smash anymore. It's sad. I'm old.
Yeah, I'm not quite as extreme. I'm not. If you're done, I don't want to cut you off, Jared. If there's anything else you wanted to say, then
No,
please do. But
Go for it.
because then I'll kind of give my piece. Yeah, my piece is just like I can recognize. Look, I can recognize that a lot of games aren't for me. All right, I very much can. There's a lot of games that like I see that Nintendo that has an audience going to sell bananas. Not for me. Totally okay. There's a couple of games that are for me. Mario Golf looks really good. I co-sign that. That looks like it's going to be a really fun party game. The RPG mechanics look cool. Nick is going to roll his eyes, but I think Project Triangle Strategy looks cool. I think that could be a cool strategy game and a cool RPG, and it's a good combo. That's two things I like rolled into one in a classic art style. It's really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. But, Splatoon is not for me. I know it's a good deal. Like, it's a big new IP that's I can't even talk, that Nintendo made, and they saw success with that. And, like, that's good. So I'm glad there's going to be a Splatoon 3. And you know what? Memes aside, I'm glad Skyward Sword is getting ported. I don't want Zelda games trapped elsewhere. Memes aside, I'm legitimately glad we're going to have a way of buying it. We're going to have a way of playing it with better hardware, smoother, it'll be 60 FPS, a cleaner image. You don't have to have the motion controls. There's going to be like the button controls. Like, that's good stuff. But it's definitely not the meat that I want from Nintendo. They're okay. They don't need to listen to me. But the games I want are the trilogy that shall not be named. The Metroid Prime 4, Bayonetta 3, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, the ports of Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. Like, those are the games I want. Those are the ones with teeth that I'd like to play. They're not here yet, so my attention is not going to be on my Switch for now. That's okay. I don't think that's a problem, but I definitely think like the hardcore are going to be waiting for some time, if that makes any sense. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, this was not a disaster, but it wasn't a fantastic, strong showcase like I'd have wanted them to have after taking all of 2020 off. And I say that with empathy, understanding that the pandemic has slowed a ton of things down.
Yeah,
I get that. That's kind of where I'm at.
I'll go. And I'm kind of in the same boat with Sam. I'll preface it by saying, as gamers, you can find in any showcase something that you could want to play, right? Whether the showcase itself excites you or throws you over the moon is a whole different story. But typically, even in the worst of showcases, you can find at least one game where you're like, okay, I could probably rock with that, right? That was a lot of what this direct was. But what punctuates how lackluster it is like Sam said, it's been almost over a year since we had like an official direct and any real true big announcement from Nintendo. So that ain't gonna cut it. And like you said, empathy in there because pandemic and everything else. But it was just, being honest, it was just meh. It doesn't mean that there's nothing that you can't play or find some excitement in, but it was just a meh direct overall. It was, you got your Smash announcements, which again, you got more sword type characters, more anime type characters from, Xenoblade and these franchises that no character in there that can excite you from a different property altogether that you just didn't see coming. That's something that could have energized, Project Triangle. What is it? Triangle.
Weird
Strategy.
name.
Working title. Working title. It's a heck of a title. It's definitely a heck of a title.
I mean, that's the game I've seen most people bring up and talk about. So it'll have its audience, and people, who like JRPGs will be excited by that game. The thing that baffled me the most, and I know we'll get more into this in the discussion topic. Again, like Sam said, Skyward Sword. Well, let me ask you before I touch that. Mario Golf, to me, should have been more of a highlight. I'm sure they'll have another direct that covers it more. But just as far as the announcement goes, they really just kind of like showed it and then jumped past it. Like almost as if they kind of thought they had it bigger with something else than they did Mario Golf. And I'm kind of like, that's kind of interesting because Mario Golf was really popular on 3DS. But I digress. The Skyward Sword thing was just odd, not for the fact that it was Skyward Sword. I thought that was actually pretty funny. And again, it's a game that sold pretty average on the Wii. I think like 3.6 million copies on the Wii, which is pretty average for that install base, right? So for it to come back and get into more people's hands, and obviously, you know, it was going to do well. It's what, number 2 or 3 or something like that, or almost probably number 1 by now on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. So something like that.
It's up there. It's like that. Yeah, it's going to do numbers, A, because they don't have a whole lot right now, but B, it's Zelda, and it's a curiosity game. Like, a lot of people missed it, you know, for whatever the reason. The thing that threw me off with that wasn't the announcement. It was the fact that Anuma came out and he goes, "You know me. You know, I know what you want to hear, but I ain't here for that." You know, no Breath of the Wild 2 for you. Instead, here's this other hotness. You're like, no, you already lost us, bro. You know, you don't have to come and say, hey, I know you know me. I know you know I'm working on Breath of the Wild 2. I know that's what you really want to see, but I'm not showing it to you. Man, talk about a kick in the nuts. You don't even have to be there. You could just say, here's Skyward Sword, you know?
Yep. Yeah. And I don't want to interrupt. I do think there is like some old school Japanese business mentality that goes into that. Definitely that very humble, oh, I apologize for this not being what you want. Like, I do think that should be considered in terms of it. It doesn't take away from what you're saying being true. Like, what you're saying is still 100% accurate in terms of, hey, this is what you want. It's not what you're getting now. You know.
Hey, at least he was more polite than Kamiya in regards to Bayonetta 3. Stop asking me. It'll show up when it shows up.
Right. Now, here's the thing. I 100% believe
you should forget and reset.
I definitely believe there's going to be another direct. I definitely believe that Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD are definitely going to be coming. It wouldn't make any sense for those games just to stay on the Wii U when they already have HD ports. That is coming. I don't have a problem with them doing Skyward Sword. It's whatever. It's not my favorite Zelda, but even the worst Zelda is still a pretty good Zelda. You know, so it's going to do numbers. It's going to sell. And shout out to B Money. No disrespect to Xenoblade, but you know, for Smash announcements, it's like. It is what it is, bro. I'm sorry. So no, it's
we're happy you're happy.
Oh yeah. If you like it, I love it. So yeah, that was kind of just my take on it. I was kind of sitting there watching the direct, and when I'm on Twitter making more jokes and I'm actually paying attention to the direct, then you know something's sort of off. I was having more fun goofing on it than I was actually like watching it. So
man, I just my golden moment was I was watching it for the first bit, and I had to log off because my daughter wanted to play or whatever. And my phone started buzzing. I'm like, oh, something must be happening. All these people tagging me. You did this to me. And I'm like, wait, what did I do? I click on it. It's like Skyward Sword HD port was announced. I'm like, oh no. I have officially used my powers of willing things into existence for evil now.
I immediately tagged Nick with just laughing emoji.
I saw you clipped that. I saw you went back and immediately like clipped that section of the podcast where I went on that nice, you know, reverential, emotional spiel about what I want to see in the Zelda franchise and Wind Waker, and you just put the boot down, bro. Just crush it, grind it into the dirt.
Yeah, but look, I don't know how many times we have to say this. Even Jeff Grubb basically said this on Twitter. Nintendo gonna Nintendo, fam. You cannot predict what Nintendo's gonna do. Like, let's get comfortable with the fact. All right, come here. Let me adjust my mic here. We're gonna have a TED Talk. All right. Hold on. No, we're doing the full thing. Let me turn the chair around.
Captain America style.
Yeah. We having this conversation. You will be able to buy Metroid Prime 4 on the next Nintendo console. You will get to play Bayonetta 3 on the next Nintendo console. And you will pay $60 for it, and you will like it. Actually, no, you'll probably pay $70 for it, because I can't wait till Nintendo jumps on that train. Nintendo going to keep... Yeah, the Switch U. No. They better not call it the Switch U. It better be the Switch Up. That's what I want. I want the Switch up, and it's got to have like sneakers that come with it. Some form of Labo sneakers that come with it. That's all I want. Labo sneakers. But look, there's some cool stuff in there. My kids are going to love the ever-living hell out of the Mario stuff in Animal Crossing. And my oldest daughter is going to drive my wife up the wall going, Mom, how do I get this? Mom, how do I get this? Mom, how do I get this?
Oh, it already happened, Nick. When Sarah saw it on screen, she goes, I have Animal Crossing. Why don't I have that? I'm like, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Thank your local game guide writer today. Is he like, hold on, honey. Daddy's Googling.
Yeah.
Man, this is where people like Jared are the godsend. You're playing this game with your daughter and you're like, oh my God, where is this one thing? Type into Google, someone's got SEO matched to a 9, and you're just like, oh, thank God for Jared. But we're going to talk a little bit about this. Skyward Sword, $60, or for my local equivalent, $92.37 for an HD port of a Wii game. And when I say HD port of a Wii game, is when you put the side-by-side screenshots of that game, I'm looking at like, it's like Xbox Series X versus PS5 screenshots. I'm like, where's the difference? I can't tell a difference in 90% of those screenshots. I understand it's running at 60 FPS now. I feel like HD ports are kind of outdated now. We live in a world where Tony Hawk came back in a meaningful remake where they crammed 2 of the games together and gave it to you remade from the ground up, basically. You have the Resident Evil games, which the amount of work and love and passion it took to take 2 and 3 and remake them the way they were. You can't even look at those games side by side and tell they're the same game almost anymore. The skeleton's there, but it's remade from the ground up. We have all these incredible experiences of our classic games brought forward to the future. Even with Diablo 2, the shell of the game's the same, but they're still doing things to it, and that's $40. But Nintendo goes, up-res that shit, $60, #1 on Amazon, ship it. How do we all feel about this as a general rule? Like, are you guys done with HD ports? Like, I know it's always a matter of which HD port are they going to get you? Like, I'm pretty sure if I went to Jared and went, Skyward Sword HD, he's going to be like, no, Nicholas, fuck off. But if I go, Majora's Mask HD? Maybe. Yeah.
No. And here's the reason why. I'm not willing to pay that much money for something that other games have been getting a simple update for. Like, honestly, there's other games that have been getting resolution and frame rate boosts and whatnot and stuff like that through simple updates to the game, where Nintendo's like, we'll just bump up the resolution a little bit, make it clean, port it over to a new console, and then repackage it, and off we go. So, yeah, no, I'm definitely tired of it. I just see it as just a quick money grab and a rip off. And though I do understand that it's also reintroducing the game to basically a whole new fandom, but also at the same time, for someone like me, I just see it as a money grab. That's all. So
that's completely fair. Sam, what about you?
I'm of two minds about this, a small mind and a big mind, if you will. And the big mind agrees with Jared, if I'm being honest. The big mind is going, and look, I'm not going to hold everyone to Blue Point standard. I'm not going to hold everyone to 343 standard or Vicarious Vision standard or whatever, but it's like 2 Tony Hawk games, remade, fantastic, phenomenal, includes all the tracks, includes all this new stuff, includes a bunch of updates, just looks gorgeous, runs well, $40. That's Activision Blizzard. That's Activision we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. You know, Say what you will about the rough troubles they've had and how they had to go back and get it working and all, and they had to work out the net code and some issues like that. But look at Master Chief Collection now. How many different classic games you've got bundled in there, all running. You can swap the graphics. A lot of them have incredible new layers. FOV slider came to console, that sort of thing. And that's $60, or was $60. I mean, it's not $60 anymore. And it's in Game Pass. You have, the Uncharted Collection, and those 3 games from Blue Point that were remastered. That was what, $50 at launch? It was, or was it full price? It may have been full price, but even then, it's 3 games. You have the Demon's Souls remake, a $70 game. $70, yes, but gorgeous. One of the best looking games, a classic, remade from the ground up, takes advantage of the PS5, does all these gorgeous things.
Mm-hmm.
The industry standard has moved beyond Nintendo, objectively. You can appreciate their games. I still appreciate their games. You can be a total hypocrite and be buying it when it happens. I'm going to be, okay? It's just, it is. And this is where the small brain comes in, because I do think there's a small argument to be made here, and that is the Wii U bombed. The Wii U bombed. Yeah. And a lot of people did not buy games on the Wii U that they had access to on the Wii. And so there is that sliver of an argument of, well, hey, now they're making it available for the platform that everyone has, that's actually successful. So I do think that needs to be considered. That needs to be taken into consideration for sure. But nonetheless, when you look at the value you're getting with all these other games, I mean, what do you want me to say? They're not providing more value. They're just not. They're objectively not. Even if you love Zelda, look at which one this is. It's not even a duo pack for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And I'm going to tell you guys this, and I will buy them. Again, I'm going to be the hypocrite. I'm going to buy them 100%. Twilight Princess and Wind Waker are going to be separate $60 games. Bank on it.
Yep.
At this point.
And
I'm going to buy them, but bank.
You can call me whatever you want, but Wind Waker is one of my favorite Zelda. I'm buying it. Same with Twilight Princess.
No, dude, those
Nick,
two, when I think of the name Zelda, those are the 2 games that come to mind.
I'm telling you the truth, bro. and I'm not going to even use my daughter as an excuse on those.
No, you can't.
Hey, 100%
especially not for Twilight Princess. You can't.
No, and I own those games. I have them on the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yep.
It is what it is. I'm sorry, I go ahead.
No. I was just saying, I agree with you. I don't know what the solution is, because you have to vote with your wallet, and us frauds aren't voting with our wallets. we're gonna buy them. Jared is. He's stronger than us. I'm proud of you, Jared. We're not you. And it just is what it is. So but I mean, is it okay? Objectively, it's not. Objectively, literally everyone else is doing a better job. I mean, the Diablo 2 remaster, that's a quality remaster. It's $40. So it's not full price. And it's coming to new platforms it was never available on. This isn't a one-to-one first-party port or anything. Right. So and that's the thing is, right, even the Spider-Man remaster, and we gave Insomniac some crap for that, and deservedly so. I'm not going to take it back, but even that was hey, it's bundled in at $20 more on Miles Morales, and we changed a lot of stuff up here. Even then, there was a level of work going into it that you're not seeing here. So no, in summary, is it okay? No. Am I going to still buy the games? Yes. Is that a problem? Yes. Do I know what to do about it? No.
it's like
this is honest with himself.
but that you know what? But that is the reality of a lot of gamers, though. And I'm sorry, Sam, are you done?
Yeah, I'm completely done. Okay. I said what I'm going to say.
Because here's the thing. This is where, the bubble versus the reality kind of comes into. Most casuals don't give a damn. They're like, I bought this for my kid, or I have this, or this is pretty much the one that I rock with the most. I never played that game. I'm going to buy it. Right. And then gamers, we talk a lot. Some people will stand on their square and be like, I'm not buying it. I'm not supporting it. That's just not enough for Nintendo to feel it. That's just the reality of it. And most are will be vocal and we'll talk. But actually, you can't even really be vocal, because Nintendo has so many different They have, they have Nintendo Japan. They have Nintendo of America. They have Nintendo of Europe. Who do you go to? Just say, damn it, don't do this, right? But the crazy part about the Skyward Sword thing is, first let me answer the first question Nick even posed. Like, am I over HD remakes in a world where we've had, or HD remasters, in a world where we've had these remakes? It is a little harder to palate. It just depends on a couple of things. Price and nostalgia is a part of it too, and what it is. If you're doing like a bumped up resolution, remaster, your pricing can dictate a lot about how that falls and what that does. Because look at like Stubbs the Zombie. That's coming. That's going to hit some nostalgia factors. That game is $150+ like new, like on eBay, because it was a short sale type game. Like people didn't pick it up or whatever. So it's going to get a new lease on life. I don't know what they're going to price it at. Do you guys know? No one knows yet. They haven't said. If that game comes in, if that game came in at $50, I'd be like, what? But if it comes in at like 25, 20, 25, 30 or whatever, then you're kind of like, okay, maybe. So that plays a part into it also. But then if I can use the example of something like Resident Evil 3, people were really upset with how short that game was. It cost as much as Resident Evil 2, but it was shorter. Still a good game, but I kind of can make the argument to say that would have been more palatable for people if it was like, say, an extension of Resident Evil 2 that cost half the price.
Sure.
It would have made a lot more sense. Didn't stop people from buying it. But I think it was still worth the $60. I really enjoyed it. Right.
Same.
But it would have been even more gangbusters if it was like $30 packed as a download or whatever to Resident Evil 2. Anyway. So yeah, it's just that thing. Like, Nintendo's going to Nintendo. And in a lot of the cases in their pricing, they factor in the fact that they decided to do Switch carts as opposed to, discs or whatever the case may be. And they have the downloads as well. But it's like this weird thing. People say the Switch tax, like, where one game may be this on Xbox and PlayStation, it gets a $10 bump because of the Switch tax, the portability tax, or whatever you want to call it. And it's like really odd. But Skyward Sword to me should not be $60, especially when Skyward Sword on Wii was $50. So people can say inflation or whatever the case may be, but I'm like, it's not enough of a change and a bump to warrant like the full 60. But again, like Sam said, people are going to buy it. We're going to cop it. Obviously, people are jumping on it on Amazon. I don't think it's necessarily right, but Nintendo doesn't feel that heat like everyone else does. Obviously, because they did the Mario port, and I'm a culprit. I bought it. I bought, for Sarah. She doesn't even play it, even though she loves Mario. She wants to play other things because I can't play it with her. It's one thing. But they didn't even attempt to touch Mario 64. And I'm like, dude, you would have killed it if you decided to remake that game from the ground up. But you couldn't even do that. You just said, you know what? We're going to put all three in there the way they were. Not even make any quality of life changes on Sunshine. For what I hear from people, is actually worse than what the GameCube version was. I haven't played through it yet. And it's like, and we're going to take it away at a certain point so we can come back later. Guarantee they're going to do this. Come back and sell it to you piecemeal. That's coming too.
Yep.
And it's messed up. It is messed up.
Well, the thing is with Nintendo is it's the same thing I said when I tweeted this when that circle, square, triangle strategy game was revealed. The moment Square Enix goes bankrupt is when people stop having nostalgia for 90s JRPGs. Because Square Enix is recycling the same formula over and over and over again to an audience that just goes, num 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 num. And it works for them. I won't knock that. If you have a formula that works and it prints money and a lot of people enjoy it, go for it. Absolutely. No problem with that. The thing with Nintendo is that I never feel like they care about their games. And I feel like that's such a harsh word because the people at Nintendo, like, these developers care about their game, but the state that they release their games in doesn't feel like there's love for these games. Like you did the Mario collection. This was supposed to be a celebration of Mario. And y'all couldn't even do anything to the games. You just direct ported them and slapped them in a Switch cartridge and went, ha, hope you fuckers buy it before March. And people just went, num, 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 num.
I numbed.
Yeah. But that's the thing is I'll never fault people for buying into that. Like, if they had said, hey, here's the Mario collection. You can buy this one for 20, this one for 20, and this one for 20. I would have copped some Sunshine. Because Sunshine is objectively the best Mario game. But they want to bundle in Mario 64, which controls terribly. I might as well use a good controller with it and use the N64. And Mario Galaxy, which is objectively one of the worst Mario games. I just don't want anything to do with that one.
Mario Galaxy is not one of the worst Mario games, bro. I can't co-sign you on that one.
I like Eric. Eric, do you see how he kept pausing? He kept pausing after each one. He's like, "Did you take the bait? Did I hook you yet?
You got me on
that. But the thing is
I had to say something on that one, Sam.
I get it, man. I get it.
The one thing I will say, and it's the core center of my belief over gaming and everything else. There's things and aspects about this industry that I don't like, that publishers, developers do. But if you want to play the game, go for it. If you want to buy Skyward Sword at $60, go for it. And if you buy that game at $60, enjoy it and feel like you got every cent of what you paid for it, go ahead. But when they released the Metroid Prime trilogy at 320p, at 12 FPS, or whatever it was originally released in, this is what we get. This is what we get. And it's just, I don't know, there's just such this weird disconnect between expectations for PlayStation and Microsoft and expectations for Nintendo. I always feel like Nintendo's that one kid where everyone's always like, yeah, it's okay you took last, but we still love you. You did great, son. Don't worry about it. Here's the participation trophy for showing up. Because let me tell you, if PlayStation or Xbox came with this direct, we would drag them through the dirt for this content. If Microsoft and Sony went an entire year and then put out a show like this, we would still be seeing editorials and videos about how bad it was. But because it's Nintendo, all I see is people going, well, $60 is perfectly fine for an HD remaster. Oh, I think everything that was shown there was great. Even that Mii game had some merit. Have some standards. That's it. I'm done. But everybody on here except for me and Jared is going to buy Skyward Sword. And that's fine. And I hope not Jared. Sorry, I'm not blaming Jared this time. I hope Eric and Sam enjoyed their shame and have a great time with that game. And its lack of motion controls. Because god damn it.
You want me to do like the monks, like the self-flagellation thing where they beat themselves on the back in pens? Well, I'll do that, except it's with the Joy-Cons. I'll just slap myself on the back with the Joy-Cons on.
Hey, you know what? Jed Whittaker did enough with Joy-Cons that I never want to see a man and a Joy-Con in a video ever again. But that wraps up our show. Great discussions as always. And, it's all about playing games and having fun. And, don't let my comments about Nintendo dissuade you from enjoying your Nintendo products or, my horrible takes in general. Don't make them feel bad about your favorite game because guess what? Your favorite game sucks. But we'll get right to outros. Jared, where can people find you, my friend?
Well, you can find all my stuff over on Windows Central, Android Central, and iMore. And you can find me on Twitter over at PickedOffWriter.
Absolutely. And Sam, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can similarly find me over on Windows Central and its sister sites. And you can find me, myself, and I on Twitter still, unfortunately, at Samuel Tolbert. That's Tolbert.
The asylum.
Yeah. Eric. Eric, where can people find you?
You can also find me on Twitter, the drudgery Yeah, EC Jackson with an X. And when I'm not here with you guys, you can find me on Brad Podcast Wednesday nights at 9:00.
Absolutely. Make sure you check out all these guys. My name is Nicholas Downey. You can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. I am no longer a PlayStation Store exclusive. I will be available on the Epic Game Store for a limited time. But you can find all of my written work at Windows Central and Android Central and anywhere in between. So appreciate you guys stopping by the podcast. We go live every 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. And hopefully we have just as much of an action-packed week next week. Remember, PlayStation State of Play on Thursday, so we'll have some interesting stuff to talk about next week, hopefully. But until then, stay safe, have fun, and don't be an asshole.